I was reading the terms of my sixth student loan when my brother texted me a photo from Bali. He was standing on a beach at sunset, barefoot, arms spread wide like he was embracing the universe. The caption said, "Day 47 of finding myself. So grateful." I looked at the interest rate on my screen. 7.3%. Then back at the photo. My brother had been finding himself for 47 days on my parents' dime. $50,000 they'd given him to travel the world, take yoga classes, and figure out what he wanted to do with his life. I'd asked for $5,000 to help with my last semester of college. They told me to get a job. Let me explain how we got here. My brother's name is Tyler. He's 4 years older than me. And from the moment I was old enough to understand family dynamics, I knew that he occupied a sacred space in our parents' universe. He was the firstborn, the son, the one who carried the family name forward, the one whose potential was limitless, and whose struggles were profound, and whose journey towards self-actualization was worthy of endless patience and investment. I was the practical one, the girl who got good grades and didn't cause problems, and would probably be fine no matter what. Tyler went to college right after high school. State university, decent program, nothing spectacular. My parents paid for everything: tuition, room and board, spending money, a car to get back and forth. They set him up in a nice apartment sophomore year when he complained about the dorms being too loud. They bought him a new laptop when his old one got stolen at a party. They sent care packages and visited on parents' weekends and talked constantly about how proud they were of their college boy. He dropped out junior year. Just stopped going to classes, stopped showing up. He'd been majoring in business administration, my grandfather's major, but apparently it wasn't speaking to his soul. My parents were concerned but understanding. "He's going through something," my mother said. "We need to give him space to figure things out." He moved back home, spent a year working part-time at a coffee shop while exploring his options. My parents didn't charge him rent, didn't push him to contribute to groceries or utilities, just let him float. When he announced he wanted to go to Los Angeles to pursue acting, they helped him move, paid his security deposit and first 3 months of rent, gave him $5,000 to get settled. He lasted 8 months before moving back home again. Acting was too superficial. Then it was graphic design, then photography, then life coaching, which required a certification program that cost $3,000. My parents paid for it. He never finished. Through all of this, I was in high school, watching, learning, understanding that Tyler's path was allowed to be winding and exploratory and expensive, while mine needed to be straight and practical and cheap. When I started thinking about college my junior year, I sat down with my parents to discuss options. "What are you thinking?" my father asked. "I want to study psychology, maybe become a therapist." My mother smiled. "That's a good, stable career. Very practical. I've been looking at schools. There's a really good program at the state university where Tyler went." "That's perfect," my father interrupted. "You can probably even use some of his old textbooks." "But I'm also really interested in this program in Boston. It's more expensive, but the psychology department is incredible. And they have connections to—" "How much more expensive?" my father asked. "About $15,000 more per year. But they have good financial aid. And I could apply for scholarships." My parents exchanged a look. That look. The one I'd learned meant, "We need to talk about this later without you here." "Let's focus on affordable options," my mother said. "The state school is perfectly good. You don't need to go into debt for an undergraduate degree." Tyler had gone to that same state school with everything paid for. He'd dropped out with 2 years of fully funded education behind him. And I was being told to focus on affordable options. But I didn't argue, because arguing meant being difficult. And I'd learned that difficult daughters got less, not more. I applied to the state university, got accepted, enrolled in the psychology program. My parents agreed to pay for tuition, which I was grateful for. I'd cover my own books, my own housing, my own food. I got a job at the campus library, worked 20 hours a week while carrying a full course load. Tyler moved back home again halfway through my freshman year. This time, he wanted to start a fitness coaching business. He needed money for equipment, for a website, for marketing. My parents gave him $8,000. The business lasted 4 months. I watched all of this happen while scanning books in the library and eating ramen in my dorm room because it was cheaper than the meal plan. I watched my parents fund Tyler's endless cycle of starting and stopping, while I was working to pay for my own groceries. "You're doing so well," my mother would say when I came home for holidays. "We're so proud of how independent you are." Independent, that word again. The word that meant, we're not going to help you because you don't seem to need it. Summer after sophomore year, I got an internship at a mental health clinic. It was unpaid, but it was valuable experience. I needed to stay near campus to do it, which meant paying rent for the summer. I picked up extra shifts at the library, started tutoring on the side. Basically worked myself to exhaustion to make it work. Tyler moved to Portland that same summer to be part of the creative scene. My parents gave him money for the move, helped him find an apartment. My father flew out with him to help him get settled. Nobody flew out to see me. Nobody asked if I needed help with summer rent, but I didn't ask either. Because by then, I'd internalized the rules. Tyler got help. I got praise for not needing help. The big moment, the one that changed everything, happened spring semester of my senior year. I was 21. Tyler was 25 and had just moved back from Portland. Again. This time he wanted to find himself before committing to another path. He was thinking about travel, maybe Southeast Asia, maybe South America, somewhere he could connect with himself on a deeper level. I was in my final semester of college, looking at graduate programs. I wanted to get my master's in clinical psychology, but master's programs are expensive, and I already had undergraduate loans. Not massive loans. I'd kept them minimal by working constantly, but enough that adding graduate school debt felt terrifying. I'd done the math. If I worked full-time for a year after graduation, saved aggressively, and then applied for graduate school, I could minimize the amount I'd need to borrow. It would delay my career by a year, but it seemed like the smart choice. But then I thought about Tyler, about all the money my parents had given him, for college he didn't finish, for moves he didn't sustain, for businesses that failed, for certifications he never completed. And I thought, maybe I could ask. Maybe if I explained that this was important, that this was my career, that this was different from rent money or moving expenses, maybe they'd help me the way they'd helped him. I was home for spring break when I brought it up. Tyler was there too, talking excitedly about his travel plans. He'd been researching hostels in Thailand, meditation retreats in Bali, volunteer opportunities in Vietnam. "How are you going to afford all that?" I asked him. Not accusatory, genuinely curious. "Mom and Dad are helping," he said, like it was obvious. "I need this. I need to figure out who I am before I can figure out what to do with my life." He was 25. I wanted to ask how much more time he needed to figure out who he was, but I didn't. That night, I asked my parents if we could talk. The three of us sat in the living room. I had a whole speech prepared. "I want to talk about graduate school," I started. "I've been accepted into a really good master's program in clinical psychology. It's a 2-year program, and it costs about $40,000 total. I have some undergraduate loans, but they're manageable. The thing is, if I could get some help, even just partial help, I wouldn't have to delay starting the program. I could go straight through, which means I'd be working as a therapist 2 years sooner, which means I'd be earning a real salary sooner." I paused, looked at them. tried to read their expressions. I'm not asking you to pay for all of it. But if you could help with even some of it, maybe 10,000, 5,000, even just helping with living expenses while I'm in school would make a huge difference. My father leaned back in his chair. You want us to pay for graduate school? Not all of it, just help with some of it. I'll take out loans for the rest, and I'll work part-time if I can. You'll be how old when you finish this program? 23? And you'll have loans from undergrad, plus loans from grad school. Yes, but as a licensed therapist, I'll be able to— Here's what I think, my father said. I think you should work for a few years. Get some real-world experience. Save money. Then decide if you really want to pursue this master's degree. I stared at him. But I've already been accepted. I've already done the real-world experience. I've been interning for 2 years. Unpaid internships aren't real-world experience, my mother said gently. Your father means a real job, with a real salary, where you learn how to budget and manage money. I've been working since freshman year. Part-time jobs aren't the same, my father said. Look, we've already invested a lot in your education. 4 years of tuition isn't cheap. We think it's time for you to invest in yourself. I felt something cold spreading through my chest. You're saying no. We're saying you need to get a job, my mother said. Be an adult. Stand on your own 2 feet before you take on more debt. Tyler's 25, and you're funding a year of international travel. The room went silent. That's different, my father said finally. How is it different? Tyler needs this. He's been struggling to find his path. This trip is about personal growth. And my master's degree isn't personal growth? You already have a degree. Tyler doesn't. He needs to figure himself out before he can commit to finishing school. So he gets $50,000 to find himself, and I get told to get a job. My mother's voice got sharp. We didn't say $50,000, but they didn't deny it either. I looked at Tyler, who was suddenly very interested in his phone. Looked at my parents, who were looking at me like I was being unreasonable, and I realized this was never going to be fair. The rules were fundamentally different for him and me. His struggle was noble and worthy of investment. Mine was just me being impractical and wanting handouts. Okay, I said. Got it. Don't be like that, my mother said. We're not saying we'll never help. We're just saying now isn't the right time. You're not ready. But Tyler was ready. Tyler was ready to spend a year, on beaches and in hostels, on their dime. Tyler, who'd never held a full-time job, or finished a degree, or stuck with anything longer than a few months, was ready for $50,000 in funding. But I wasn't ready for $5,000. I went back to school the next day. Didn't finish spring break at home, just packed my bag and drove back to campus, and sat in my dorm room, staring at the acceptance letter from the graduate program. I had 30 days to make a decision. I could defer for a year, work full-time, save everything, take out loans for whatever I couldn't cover, go to grad school without my parents' help. Or I could let the opportunity pass, give up on the timeline I'd planned. Except that my parents' money was for Tyler's self-discovery, but not for my career. I chose the first option. Obviously, because I learned years ago that waiting for my parents to prioritize me was a losing game. I deferred my acceptance, graduated with my bachelor's degree in May, moved into a cheap apartment with 2 roommates, got a job as a case manager at a nonprofit. It paid $32,000 a year, which wasn't much, but it was something. Tyler left for Thailand in June. My parents threw him a going-away party, invited family friends, made a whole thing of it. My mother cried about how proud she was that Tyler was taking this journey of self-discovery. I wasn't invited to the party. I found out about it from Instagram. That's when I stopped calling them, stopped initiating contact, Stop pretending that we were a family that functioned on anything resembling equality. They noticed after a few weeks. My mother called. "You've been so distant lately," she said. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I've been busy." To call your mother? "I've been working, and apartment hunting, and trying to figure out my life without any help." "That's not fair. We've helped you plenty. You paid for Tyler to find himself in Bali. You told me to get a job." "Those are two completely different situations." "You're right, they are. Because Tyler's been failing upward for 7 years on your dime. And I've been succeeding on my own, and getting nothing but lectures about being an adult. We're trying to teach you responsibility." "No, you're trying to justify treating us differently. And I'm done pretending it's fair." I hung up. She called back. I didn't answer. The next year was brutal. I worked 40 to 50 hours a week at my case manager job, picked up weekend shifts at a restaurant for extra money, lived in a terrible apartment with terrible roommates because it was cheap, ate cheap food, didn't buy new clothes, didn't go out, didn't do anything that wasn't strictly necessary. I saved $18,000 that year. $18,000 from grinding myself into exhaustion. Tyler posted photos from his journey constantly. Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Bali. He took surfing lessons, did yoga retreats, learned to cook traditional dishes, made friends from around the world. "This is exactly what I needed." He posted on Instagram. "I'm finally understanding who I am." He'd been gone 8 months and was showing no signs of coming home. My mother commented on every post about how proud she was, how brave he was, how this experience was transforming him. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't engage. I just kept working, kept saving. Applied to graduate school again that winter. Same program, same acceptance. But this time, I had $18,000 saved, and I took out loans for the rest. I started grad school that fall. 2 years of intensive study, while working part-time. 2 years of barely sleeping and living on coffee, and somehow maintaining a 3.8 GPA. Because failure wasn't an option. Tyler came home 13 months after he left. He'd spent all $50,000. He came back transformed, according to my mother. He'd found his path. He wanted to be a wellness coach. This required another certification, $3,000. My parents paid for it. I graduated with my master's degree in clinical psychology at 24. Got a job at a group practice. Started paying off my loans. $53,000 total from undergrad and grad school combined. I'd done it, on my own, without their help, without their belief that I was worth investing in. And I felt nothing when my mother called to congratulate me on graduating. No pride, no satisfaction, just exhaustion. "We should celebrate," she said. "Come home for dinner, we'll make your favorite." "I'm busy." "You're always busy. I've barely seen you in 2 years." "I've been in graduate school, working too, jobs, building a career." "I know, and we're so proud. Are you?" "Because I don't remember you being proud when I asked for help. I remember you telling me to get a job while Tyler got $50,000 to find himself." Silence. "That's ancient history," she said finally. "Why are you still hung up on that?" Ancient history. 2 years of me working myself to exhaustion while they funded Tyler's year-long vacation. "Because it showed me who you prioritize," I said. "And it's not me." "That's not true." "I have to go. I have a session." I didn't have a session. I just couldn't talk to her without feeling like I was going to break something. The next few years were about building. Building career, building my practice, building a life that didn't depend on them for anything. I got my license, started taking on more clients, moved to a better apartment, started actually having money left over after bills and loan payments. Tyler started his wellness coaching business. It lasted 7 months before he pivoted to life coaching. That lasted 4 months. Before he decided what he really wanted was to get a degree in nutrition. My parents helped pay for his return to school. Again, I bought a car, my first new car, a Honda Civic. Nothing fancy, but mine. Fully mine. I didn't tell my parents, didn't post about it. Just drove it home from the dealership, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. My relationship with my parents became polite but distant. We talked on major holidays, I sent cards on birthdays, but the intimacy was gone. The trust was gone. The belief that they saw me and valued me the way they saw and valued Tyler was gone. And honestly, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss feeling like I had to prove myself worthy of basic support. I didn't miss watching them throw money at Tyler's latest whim while telling me to be practical. I didn't miss being the responsible one who got less because she didn't need more. My mother sent me a text on my 27th birthday. I miss you. I wish we were closer. I don't understand what happened to us. I stared at that text for 20 minutes before responding. You gave Tyler $50,000 to find himself. You told me to get a job when I asked for $5,000 for college. That's what happened to us. She called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail said, "That's so unfair. We've always supported you. We paid for your undergraduate degree. You act like we've done nothing for you. And Tyler needed that trip. He was lost. You've always been fine." That word. Fine. I deleted the voicemail, blocked her number for a week. Eventually unblocked it, but didn't call back. Tyler finished his nutrition degree last year. He's working at a health food store and doing online coaching on the side. He's 29 now, still figuring things out, still getting help when he needs it. I'm 27, licensed therapist, building a private practice, living in a nice apartment, dating someone I really like. My student loans will be paid off in 3 more years. And I did it without them, without their money, without their belief that I was worth investing in. Which means I also did it without owing them anything, without having to be grateful for help that came with strings, without having to accept their narrative that Tyler deserved more because he struggled more. Last month, my father called. First time he'd call me directly in over a year. "Your mother says you won't talk to her." I talk to her, just not often. She's hurt. She doesn't understand why you're so angry. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done what? Done accepting less because I don't demand more. Done when you fund Tyler's endless search for himself while telling me to be an adult. Done pretending that's fair. Life isn't fair. You're right, it's not. And I'm not obligated to pretend it is. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "We did the best we could. Maybe. But your best was better for Tyler than it was for me. And I'm allowed to acknowledge that. You're holding a grudge. I'm holding a boundary. There's a difference. We haven't spoken since. Here's what I've learned. You can't make people see their favoritism. They'll always have explanations. He needed more help. She was more capable. He was struggling. She was fine. The reasons change, but the outcome stays the same. You can't make them understand that giving less to the child who asks for less isn't fairness. It's just easier. That rewarding incompetence while taking competence for granted isn't teaching responsibility. It's teaching resentment. All you can do is stop waiting for them to realize what they've done. Stop hoping they'll apologize. Stop expecting them to treat you the way they treat your sibling. Just build your own life, with your own money, on your own terms. And when they ask why you're distant, when they say they miss you, when they don't understand what happened to your relationship, you can tell them the truth, or you can stay silent. Either way, they won't really hear it. Because people who fund $50,000 finding yourself trips while telling their other child to get a job don't see the problem with that equation. But you see it. And that's enough. I see my therapist clients struggle with this. The adult children who got less, who were expected to figure it out, who watched their siblings get supported while they got lectures about responsibility. And I tell them what I wish someone had told me. You're not imagining it. You're not being petty. You're not holding a grudge. You're just recognizing a pattern and choosing not to accept it anymore. You're allowed to be hurt that your brother got $50,000 to find himself while you got told to get a job. You're allowed to be angry that his struggles were met with open wallets while yours were met with tough love. You're allowed to distance yourself from people who make you feel less important, even if those people are your parents. And you're allowed to be proud of what you built without them, especially proud of that. Because here's the thing. Tyler might have had the easier path, the funded path. The path where failure was cushioned by family money, and every fresh start came with a check. But I have something he doesn't. I have the certainty that everything I've accomplished, I earned. Every degree, every license, every client, every dollar in my bank account. Mine. Not because someone gave it to me, or funded it, or made it easier. Because I worked for it. And no one can take that away from me. No one can diminish it. No one can say I didn't earn it. Tyler will always wonder if he could have done it without them. He'll never know if his successes are his, or just the natural outcome of having unlimited chances and unlimited funding. I know exactly what I'm capable of. I know what I'm worth. And I know I did it alone. That knowledge is worth more than $50,000, worth more than funded trips, and paid certifications, and endless chances. It's worth everything. My parents will probably never understand why I'm not close to them anymore. They'll tell people I'm difficult, that I hold grudges, that I can't let go of the past. They'll paint themselves as the parents who did their best, and me as the ungrateful daughter who can't appreciate it. Let them. Their narrative doesn't change my reality. My reality is, I asked for $5,000 for graduate school and got told to get a job. Tyler got $50,000 to find himself, and I found myself anyway. Without their help. Without their money. Without their belief that I was worth supporting. I found myself in late-night study sessions, and double shifts, and ramen dinners, and determination. So found myself in the decision to stop waiting for them to see me and start seeing myself. I found myself, and I didn't need $50,000 to do it. Just $53,000 in student loans, 4 years of grinding, and the absolute certainty that I deserved better than what they were offering. That certainty carried me through graduate school, through licensing exams, through building a practice, through every moment when I wanted to call them and ask for help, and knew I wouldn't get it. And now, it carries me through holidays, where I send cards but don't visit, through birthdays, where I thank them for their texts but don't call, through the guilt trips, and the "we miss you," and the "when are you coming home?" I am home, in my apartment, that I pay for with money I earned, treating clients I fought to get. This is home. Not their house, not their conditional love, not their world where Tyler's needs matter more than mine. This. My life, my career, my choices, built entirely on my own terms, funded entirely by my own effort, mine. And that's the real ending. Not that I confronted them and they apologized. Not that they realized their mistake and made it right. Not that we reconciled and everything was fixed. The real ending is, I stopped needing them to validate me. I stopped waiting for them to treat me fairly. I stopped letting their choices define my worth. I just built a life I'm proud of. And I did it without $50,000, or family support, or anything except my own stubborn refusal to accept less than I deserved. Tyler found himself in Bali. I found myself in the decision to stop accepting crumbs. And honestly, my way cost less and taught me more.